Girls has earned so much praise, and it's been called brilliant countless times, but it's also attracted a fair share of criticism, being too white,
Yep.
too middle class, charges of nepotism, or simply that's just navel gazing.
Yeah.
How do you deal with all that criticism?
Well, I can go down the thing. The nepotism thing is ridiculous. It's like no one ever got a television show because their mother was like, an alternative art figure in the 1980s and 90s. Like, that's not how it works. I wish that's how it worked. And I didn't cast anyone for any reason but that they are people who fascinate and thrill me. And
Brian Williams didn't strong-arm you into...
No, I didn't grow up in a house that watched news. I didn't even really know who Brian Williams was. I was like, had him confused with Charlie Rose. I was like, okay, guys, do your thing. I thought Zosh's name was Zosiah Mame. I didn't even realize. And I'm not, I respect David Mamet's work thoroughly, but I wasn't like, gotta get a Mamet in this show. Jemima's my best friend from, 6th grade. And I think also, not to be the girl who cried misogyny every day, but people are always looking for reasons why women are successful. They're like, oh, it couldn't just be that those girls were talented and got a part in a TV show. There's gotta be 7 other reasons. It's the same thing as, oh, she was the producer. It's like, it's just a way that people talk about female success. So that one I've never allowed to trouble me. As for the race criticisms on the show, I totally heard those, and I was really happy that it opened up a dialogue about race on television, which is one we need to be having and need to continue having. And I tried to, respond to it sensitively, and I heard people and they said, that doesn't reflect my New York. And as the show expanded, I tried to expand its world culturally. And I also I hope it started a conversation about the fact that what we need is more showrunners of color who are telling their own stories. I'm half Jewish and half WASP, and I wrote 2 Jews and 2 WASPs, and that's what I knew how to do when I started the show when I was 23. And so, but I was grateful that it engendered some kind of dialogue on this super important topic. And then other criticisms, like the navel gazing thing, I really think it's like...
Or the privileged kids, that thing.
Class is something that people are really afraid to talk about. I think what the mistake people made was that they thought we were going, this is what everyone's life is like. And we were going, no, these are girls who don't understand the value of $1. They think everything's going to be handed to them. This is a commentary on what it means to be a white middle class person. But I think people made the assumption that we were far less aware of what we were doing than we actually were. And then it's interesting in terms of navel gazing. I constantly wanted to point out and didn't, because it's inelegant to rebut every single criticism. But I was like, is that the complaint about Larry David? Is that the complaint about,
Seinfeld.
Is that a complaint about Ricky Gervais? Is that a complaint about Seinfeld? It's really funny when I think the funniest thing in the world...
It was actually the opposite with Seinfeld. The show was lauded for being a show about nothing, right?
Yeah, people were like, this is the greatest thing. They weren't about soup,
Yeah.
which it was the greatest thing, but
big
opinions.
The thing is that you're so at the center of this show. It's impossible to think of it without thinking of you. Do you therefore, if somebody criticizes something on the show, not even criticizing you or not even in broad strokes about something like race or class, do you take it personally?
You know what is hard is when the criticisms got personal. It was like, this show doesn't have enough characters of color and therefore you are a racist. This show looks at
Somebody
issues
said that?
of privilege. People said, the dialogue became so heated and so focused on me, and I wanted to find a way to talk about all these things without it just turning into little bits of Twitter fodder, and I felt a little frozen by it at first, and then it's gotten easier.